Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. I want to tell you all about the Etekcity Voltson Wi-Fi smart outlets. I want to tell you why I like them, why I don't, and whether or not I recommend in the end for you to go out and purchase these products. Now, first off, let's start out with why I approached Etekcity. Now, fair warning, they did end up paying for this video. It is a paid sponsorship at this point, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to tell you what I like and what I don't like about these products. Now, this set of Voltson Wi-Fi smart outlets, there's actually two different sizes, and that's one of the things I do like about this. This size over here, and it's powering the Google Home Hub, it is a 10 amp outlet, and this is a 15 amp outlet, so this will match lots of the breakers in homes, you know, the 15 amp version. You have two different versions, but there's also some differences between the two that I want to point out. This 15 amp here, it actually has on board a night light, and that shows up when you connect it to these products. It shows up as a whole separate device, and it acts as a light. When I ask my Google Home product to turn on the lights in my what is called the studio, now that room, it turns on this night light if it is dark enough. So there's actually a little light sensor here on the front of the 15 amp that is very important to that as well. And so you can just use this device as a night light as well. Turn off big outlet. Now, the other big reason why for me, these are both power monitoring devices. And so what I've been able to do after installing these a few days ago, I was able to actually look at the power consumption on both of these devices. So very simply put, for this is showing up right now as an $18 item, and this is showing up as around an $11 item on Amazon. And we know those prices will fluctuate a little bit over time, but you know, for a relatively low cost, I can actually monitor power usage on devices in my home, and you can set a number of things in the application as well. Now, those modes that I'm talking about, or those functions that you can actually do here with these devices, I think they're fantastic. I like these little adders. The energy savings mode essentially turns off your device when it hits too high of a consumption in terms of kilowatt hours. So if you're someone who's trying to limit power, say to a small air conditioner, you only want to use it so much, or only want to spend so much per month or per day or whatever, you can actually set that energy saving mode to have it turn off. You're basically limiting yourself to spending a certain amount of money. The other thing that I really like about these, and this is coming from my days in engineering here, relay and protection engineering actually, you can actually set thresholds for these to trip off. So they're calling it abnormal power protection. That's a setting in the application that you can set, and once you reach a certain height, it will actually trip off. So I don't know whether or not that would be quick enough to actually physically protect things, but I would think so. In a lot of cases, they're just very small contacts in these devices. They should be able to read relatively quickly on board and trip off if you kind of hit that threshold that you set. One more thing about that power monitoring capability that I just wanted to point out, you actually get graphs inside the VSync application, and you can actually look at them and review them based on a week, a month, a year, and then you can also see real-time data, and I'd say they're updating about every 5 seconds, so they're not updating so quickly that you're going to see spikes in your power and things like that, but they are updating quick enough to capture an overall kilowatt hours that you're spending on these devices. So I think they're doing a very good job of that, and I've been able to, like I said, monitor a little bit that I'm going to bring you guys some information about, but monitor a little bit what's going on with some of these devices and when they're spending my money essentially through power. Some other things that I really liked, you can schedule, you can time these, and obviously the connection with these devices is excellent. So I was able to connect both of these immediately. Once these were set up, I was able to connect both of these. And like I said, on this bigger 15 amp outlet, you now get 2 devices in both Amazon and Google's home applications there where they're managing your smart home devices. You get 2 devices on this, the outlet itself and a nightlight, and over here you just get the outlet. One other thing about schedule and timers, there's actually an away function as well where you can trigger these on through scheduling. And again, this is just through the VSync application, so you're not having to go out into something else and set up routines or anything like that. But when you're away, you can set up basically a schedule to turn it on and off to make it appear as though you're still home. So that's a nice feature for those of you planning a vacation, and something a little bit extra for these little Wi-Fi outlets. You know, you don't always get all of this extra functionality from a Wi-Fi smart outlet. Now, in terms of things that I wasn't in love with, the biggest thing was actually on both of the setups of these devices. They took me a little extra time. So, you know, this is something that I really harp on. I want setup to be extremely easy. I want it to be extremely efficient, and I'm sure you do too. What I'll tell you, and this is the way around the issue, is you just bring this to an outlet very close to your router. Both of these. You bring them as you first set it up, but I've been able to move it away after that. I wasn't able to get this one to connect when I was further away from my router. So again, all you have to do, move this close, it makes that initial connection. And what was nice within the process was when I was failing the connection, they had some additional modes for setup in this VSync application. So all in all, the setup process was good. I just needed to move these both closer to my router. I was within a couple of meters of it, and then they both connected perfectly, no problems whatsoever. A couple more things to talk about. These are really only North American. They're not intended to actually be out there in other places because they're only 60 hertz and they're only 120 volt expected, or 110 to 120 here expected for a voltage. So they're not really intended to be international, be everywhere, at least not these versions that I'm going to put in the description down below. So overall, guys, what I'm actually telling you is these are very good. I am happily recommending a purchase of these. Keep in mind it's a Wi-Fi setup, and so sometimes there are struggles with that. Also, it's a Wi-Fi setup, so it's utilizing your Wi-Fi in your home. But in general, they have stayed connected very well in my home after that initial connection issue I told you about where you got to be closer to the router. But otherwise, I've been very happy with these, and I can actually recommend them. The links are down below. You can go ahead and purchase yourself either of these 2 versions of Etekcity Voltson Smart Wi-Fi outlets.